Ghost time.
It is ghost time. Alright, my dad and I are finally doing something that we wanted to do forever.
Gonna go get freaked out together.
Yeah, we're gonna go on a ghost tour. What do you expect to find tonight?
Spirits and ghosts and lions and tigers, oh my.
You excited?
I'm excited. I'm filming you.
I'm filming you.
I'm filming you filming me.
Whoa, so weird.
Wow.
Wow. One of our stops tonight is that we're going to stop at the Whaley House. If you guys don't know about the Whaley House, it's actually one of America's most haunted houses, if not the most haunted house in all of America. Are you spooked out?
I went to the New Orleans Ghost Adventures. New Orleans is where they learned about vampires in the United States. The French owned New Orleans at the time and all of Louisiana, and they were trying to get people to move there. So they hopped on boats. And so the whole time the women only just drank water and ate very little food and stayed in the bilges away from the sailors that were going to rape them. But there were also rats down there, so the rats were like biting on the women and they were getting all pale because they spent 3 months in there. And then they showed up down at the docks and they were like pale white with bite marks all over them and a lack of blood. They became the modern vampires.
Ooh. The ghost tours bus is right there. But the Ghost and Graveyard bus is over there.
Ghost Hunters, please gather in.
That should be the name of my show, Ghost Hunters. That was the shortest tour ever. The bus left without us.
It left without us.
I'm your host this evening. My name is Dante. I am your ghost host. And at the end of our tour, I'm going to show each and every one of you actual proof. Yes, proof that ghosts exist. We're going to go to one of San Diego's most famous and infamous haunted locations, the Whaley House.
And so it begins.
Here we are at the Whaley House. Built by Thomas Whaley in 1856. Now he is only one of the spirits that is said to haunt this house. But yet there are many, 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 many others. It was the very first two-story brick home built in Southern California by the Whaley family. And it's been used as a boarding house, a courthouse, a general store, a granary, a schoolhouse, a Pony Express stop, San Diego's very first live theater. It's also used as a county morgue. Now with a resume like that, it is a beacon for ghosts and their stories. Tragedy seemed to follow the Whaley family. The first to die inside the house from their family was their son, Thomas Jr. He died upstairs in the nursery from scarlet fever. Violet was a very depressed soul at the age of 22 years old. She tried to drown herself in a water tank. Now her father heard her, rescued her, and pulled her out. She ended up stealing her father's pistol from within inside the house. She then went into the back of the house, here in the privy, shot herself in the chest. Not yet dead, they brought her bleeding body back into the house through those white doors there, laid her out upon a red and gold velvet settee, and this is where Violet then passed away 20 minutes later in her father's arms. Are these the only deaths associated with this house? No. There are still yet many, many, many other deaths associated with this very house. All right, watch your step as we cross the street. You know, we don't need no more spirits on our tour. Before we arrive at our next destinations, let me explain a little bit about what you may expect on our tour. First of all, there will be no costume ghouls jumping out at you from any darkened corners. Not from our company. The places that we're visiting tonight are considered to be documented, authenticated, haunted locations. For I am getting you up front, close and personal, and telling you the stories, the ghost stories, where they've actually occurred. And our stories are the cornerstone of our tour. Now the Villa Montezuma is said to be haunted, otherwise we wouldn't be going there. We approach the weirdly wonderful, the magnificently peculiar, La Villa Montezuma! Well, ladies and gentlemen,
God.
Here we are at the tower of the house. So Mrs. Yeager has been seen on our tour. Photographed by those on our tour, you can see right through her to the stained glass windows beyond. That she had developed a bad case of dementia near the time of her death. She still had the black dress that she'd worn to Carl's funeral in her possession, as well as a shotgun that she would chase people off with. Unseen, unheard, Mrs. Yeager made her way into the Villa Montezuma. She then went upstairs to the tower of the house and then locked the door behind her. Now, in all of her confusement and dementia, it seems as though she couldn't seem to unlock the door and let herself out. Her weak cries of, "Help, help, somebody help me," They all went unheard by the workmen in the house. Now the workmen, they did find Mrs. Yeager up in the tower of the house. Oh my, did they ever. They found her about 2 weeks later up in the tower of the house. Now the last time that we met with the Yeager estate, we were very fortunate because they had brought something from the estate that I would like to show all of you now. Here is the key to the tower of the house. In her final attempts to unlock the door, that before she died, she imparted a memory into the key. This is what's called a residual haunting. Now, if there is enough residual energy here tonight, I'll offer the key up to the tower of the house, and one can hope if there is enough residual energy, perhaps we'll be able to see the key move and turn by itself. Here on the outside of the house is the portrait of Jesse Shepard, for whom the house was built in 1887. Went over to this piano in Paris, sat down, and started to play the most incredible music anyone had ever heard in their life. And at the end of a concert, he played for a couple hours. He would then do a flourish. I don't play the piano, so I don't know what they're called. He would do a flourish, a ta-da! Again, I don't know what it's called, ta-da! Do his bow, and it was bravo, bravo. But they had a question for him. They said, Jesse, we know of you and your psychic ability. We had no idea you could play the piano with the skills of a master. Jesse said, well, neither did I. It's the first time I've sat down upon a piano. My hands were just compelled to move. It must be the spirit of dead composers playing throughout my arms. Mozart and a Beethoven, and he would play accordingly. Here he gets a brand new idea. Why don't I combine my psychic ability along with my piano playing, and I'll perform concert seances. The answers you seek for music from beyond. And this became his new ticket to fame as he continued to travel around the world. 40 years later, Jesse Shepard is back in the United States. As Jesse Shepard was wheeled into the music room in a high-back wooden wheelchair by his attendants. He could not even walk. He was a frail man. He had to physically take him off the chair, place him on the piano bench, place his hands upon the keys of the piano. Now 79, started to play the most miraculous music that they'd ever heard in their life. After that concert in Los Angeles in 1927, he'd never again play the piano. And there was a reason why. And it was found out at that concert. Jesse Shepard had in fact died upon the piano, right upon the very last note. Jesse Shepard with his
creeped out yet?
Here you can see a photograph of the house. You see this big gray area here? It looks sort of out of place, right?
That's really showing.
Well, the reason is underneath of it, they had to cover it up to protect it until they can get money to repair it. Is very intricate cherubs and vines and trees, and it was falling apart.
All I could think about is that one episode of Doctor Who where the baby weeping angels are coming after Amy and Rory Pond. No thank you.
Well, back in the time of the Villa Montezuma, the area downtown was known by a very different name and a very different reputation. Yes. Back then it was called the Stingaree District. You can probably imagine what kind of an area would attract thousands of lonely sailors to the Stingaree here upon Charlie. I can guarantee you this, it was not a church picnic. Ah, yes, it was a red light district filled with 64 opium dens, which were legal during this time. And of course, there were the gentlemen clubs. Over 120 of them in the downtown area here of San Diego. Run by our own infamous madam, Miss Ida Bailey. Some say that the ghostly Ida Bailey is still around, and you're going to hear some more about Ida and her ghost in just a little bit. But now I'd like to tell you about another person from the Stingaree. And this time a gentleman by the name of Roger Whitaker. And when he was caught cheating, Roger was promptly shot. I know, with a pitiful sonic bullet like that, it wasn't even enough to kill Roger anyway. It was just a flesh wound. He went staggering back to a nearby hotel where he hid inside an armoire, hoping no one would follow the trail of blood that led right to his hiding place. But luck was not on Roger's side this night. As he's in the dark, oozing blood and in pain, all of a sudden the doors of the armoire swung open, a second shot rang out, and Roger was killed. Now the haunted room of 209 is the second story room that you see right here. The lights are off, the curtains are closed. That's the haunted room of 209. And the haunted room of 309 is up here on the very tip-top corner. They never let guests stay inside of the haunted rooms, at least not unknowingly. They're early for parking. The rest of the photographs here show you.
What do you see?
So far, me. Much older.
The next destination here on our tour, you can see it's called the Heath Davis House. This is the Gaslamp District's oldest surviving structure and home to what we believe to be some very real spirits. Now what goes on here at this house is typical of most haunted houses. Doors slammed, things move. That's not all that goes on here at this house. There's much, much more. One spirit in the house is quite particular to the house. And many people have seen this spirit inside the house, up at the top of the stairs, beckoning people upstairs. And she's always beckoning people upstairs. Now, she's always, people saying, dressed in a long black dress, long white bib, white hat, high button top shoes. That amount of detail for ghosts is very unique, because most are seen as nothing more than a white round spirit orb or a cloudy Mr. shape. What makes the spirit even more unique up at the top of the stairs? Many people have claimed to have spoken to her, totally unaware she was not even alive. There are hundreds of spirits inside this house. You see, hundreds of people died inside of this very house. Now why would a quaint little house like this see so many unjust or untimely deaths? Because this is a house where people would come to die. We are the one and only tour that has keys to go inside of the Heath Davis house. So let's go inside, if you dare. Now here's an interesting photograph that someone on our tour sent us that they got in the dining room, and you'll see that dining room here tonight too. So here's an interesting photo that they got there. It's not a white round spirit orb, I'm not sure what quite you call it here, but that was gotten in the dining room here. This house is extremely active, according to the San Diego Ghost Hunters. Right now, they say that this house here that you're in is the most active location in all of San Diego right now, even more so than the Whaley House. Awesome. The floors here.
I found
this photograph here on the wall. This is of Mr. Heath Davis who built the 10
nothing.
houses. Us just right now, you were already inside the cemetery. The cemetery used to be a lot bigger out to this area, but in the 1930s they made it smaller. They moved the walls back, but they never moved the graves. The graves are still underneath your feet, right here where you are standing. They are also located out here in the street. Let me show you one out here in the street. I'm just going to find it here. But they have been stolen throughout the years. I guess they make some sort of gruesome souvenir. This is the plot of Yankee Jim, James Robinson, also known as Santiago Robinson. Well, Yankee Jim was found guilty. His crime, attempted grand larceny of a rowboat, and sentenced to die. His hands are tied behind his back. He's standing on a wagon pulled by a horse. Now, when the horse and wagon pull away, what's supposed to happen? He's supposed to fall to his death, break his neck, and die. It's not what happened. When the horse and wagon pulled away from the gallows, what happened was that rope around his neck was too short, and it basically just left him dangling for breath, standing right in the place right where he was, and the whole plaza was full of people watching like a gruesome sideshow. It took him over 40 minutes to strangle and die. Because he was so tall, they didn't have a coffin long enough to put him in. They broke his legs right in half, right at the knees, brought his legs up this way, and then buried him into the ground. Where we were behind the Whaley House when we started our tour, before that house is there, that's where the wooden gallows used to be.
As I sit here in this graveyard in historic San Diego, I must say, I don't know why people come to graveyards to look for ghosts. Ghosts don't hang out at their graves. Their graves have nothing to do with their lives. Ghosts hang out where they died, where they lived, where the most eventful and impactful things happen in their lives. If you're coming to a graveyard to find ghosts, you're gonna find nothing but dead space.
We believe that we found actual proof that ghosts exist. Now, this is what we believe that ghosts leave behind. We believe everything leaves something behind. Why not ghosts? Ladies and gentlemen, for your entertainment value, I present to you ghost droppings. Oh yes, ghost droppings. We have enough for all of you. You can touch them. When you're in bed tonight, in the dark, ready to go to sleep while you're having a late night snack of ghost droppings, I want you to think of this. Tonight I walked where spirits dwell and heard the tales they had to tell. I cringed a bit and shuddered some, but most of all, I had some fun. I will be safe here in my bed. I fear no visits from the dead. For whether or not you believe in ghosts, well, the time has come to thank your host.
I would rate that
Out of a 10 scale?
out of a 10 scale, probably a 6.
Ooh, you're generous. I'd go 4.
It advertised itself as this amazing experience. It's gonna like convince you of ghosts and stuff. But there were so many instances, like when we were inside the house,
Yeah.
and he was like, okay, I'm gonna call, don't film, don't take pictures, just be one with your senses. And then he makes a joke of it by slamming on the ground or
Right.
like having the little ghost light.
When intentionally he swore to God in his text that no one was going to do any jump scares or cheap theatrical pranks.
Right, which he did like at least 4 times.
Yes.
This,
Ghost turds.
yeah, ghost droppings.
Droppings.
I think this was like my final straw. Which is convenient because it was right at the end. Now, entertainment wise, I was thoroughly entertained like 90, maybe 85% of the time.
You know, having done the New Orleans one where they actually got into like the creepy stories, and this was like, here's a house, they got $1 a day to keep people in a hospital bed until they died.
Would I recommend this one? If you're serious, no. If you want to be entertained and maybe scared a little bit, if you're easily scared, then yeah, go for it. Yeah, I'm glad I got to do it with you though. Alright guys, as always, stay safe, stay happy, most importantly, stay you. We will see you guys again next time, and until then, we hope you have a magically spooky day.
Ooh.
Bye!
Bye.